afternoon, everybody, or good morning to everybody in WA. So thank you for joining today's webinar, Forever FlexSoft and Laser Dark 101. So before we kick off, just a little bit of housekeeping. So if you want to ask any questions, then you can do so by pressing the Q&A button, which is just down at the bottom of your screen. We will be providing a copy of the presentation and also a recording after the session's finished today. We'll send that out by email. And throughout the webinar, we'll be having some polls. Think of it as a virtual putting your hands up. So I'll ask a couple of questions. It's usually a yes or no answer, just so we can gauge a feel of what people are already printing and achieving. So that's just a bit of interaction there. And for everybody's convenience, all attendees will be on mute for this presentation. And if you have any questions, just ask them along the way. Now, if I do miss those whilst I'm talking, there will be sections where I stop and pause and answer any questions that have come up. So before we dive into today's presentation, we just want to say thanks to all of our customers who help make us support you in the ways that we do. And we just want to say thank you. And we've met a lot of people through our road shows and our events throughout the years, and we've taken a different stance given today's situation. So we're taking things virtual and online. So a little bit about today's agenda. So we're going to go over everything to do with FlexSoft, the overview of the media, exactly what equipment is required, and also some demonstrations on how the process works. We will also go over the Oki Pro Series white toner laser printers, and then we're going to discuss everything there is to know about the laser dark transfer media. So who am I? And as you probably guessed, I'm Steve, and I'm originally from the UK. I emigrated to Australia in 2014 to move here to work for GJS. And in that time, I have now become the support supervisor, and I run the support team here at GJS. You'll quite often see me running our training and educational events. I've met quite a lot of people throughout this time, and it's really good to get out there and meet people and provide the training and help all of our customers to be successful. So we're going to talk about the forever heat transfer laser technologies. So I've got a quick question I'm going to ask everybody to start with. Has anybody actually used the forever transfers before? So you're going to see a little poll coming up on your screen. If you have, just click yes. If you haven't, click no. To give you a few seconds to answer that. Okay, so that's a few people have used the transfer media before, but a lot of people haven't. So by the end of today's session, you're going to know exactly what the two products are, and you'll be able to go away and experiment and work out what may be the best fit for your business, or if you're looking to add an extra range, you'll know exactly which product is going to be most suitable. Now we're going to talk about the two main different products. One is a single color solution. Now this will work with regular laser printers and a heat press. Most people in this presentation now already have a heat press for some type of printing that they are doing. So that is what's required. And then the second product is a full color or photographic results produced using the Oki Pro Series white toner laser printers, also in conjunction with a heat press. So they're the two main different products, single color and full color. You're going to hear that a lot throughout today's presentation. So Forever FlexSoft, That's the name of the transfer media to produce the single color solutions. So heat transfer vinyl, if you've used heat transfer vinyl, you probably agree with me here. Who hates weeding? I know that I do, that's for certain. So what weeding is once you've used a plotter to cut a design into the heat transfer vinyl, you then have to use a picker, like you can see up on the screen, to pick out the unwanted parts of the design. So if you've got a really complex design, it's going to take forever to do it, or a really long time. Now, on the next slide here, how long do you think it would take to weed a design like this? So I've got a quick poll, a show of hands, a virtual show of hands, for how long do you think it would take to weed this? Now, I've asked this question in the past, and there's a bit of a joke, this question. The answer is pretty much forever, and it's quite funny given the names forever. So some people, like we're saying here, wouldn't even attempt to weed something like that. It's just that if a customer came to you with a design like this, you'd probably have to decline that order. It's just not be feasible to produce that artwork and make money at the end of the day. So as everybody can see here, most people wouldn't even attempt to produce such a design using heat transfer vinyl. So what if I could tell you, you could produce designs like this using a regular laser printer and a heat press that you probably already have in 6 minutes or less. Be pretty useful, right? I know a lot of people find this extremely useful, especially for those complex, intricate designs that it's going to take a really long time to weed out. Just have a look at the t-shirt with all those names on there. It's just going to take an incredible amount of time for that to be to weed that out, or even for the plotter to cut that in the heat transfer vinyl. It's just not going to be feasible to produce that artwork. So this Forever Flex Soft paper will actually allow you to take on these really complex designs that you may have had to decline from clients previously. Now, what equipment do you need to produce these kind of results? So I mentioned you would need a laser or an LED printer. It works with most regular laser printers. And also you're going to need a heat press. But what type of laser printer do you need? So it works with most regular laser printers, and we recommend the Oki laser or LED printers because we find that they are the best products, and the media's been suited to work with the Oki laser printers, and it produces perfect results every single time. Different laser printer manufacturers use different types of toners, and they're not all compatible. So if you do have a laser printer, just contact us and we can give you some advice if it's going to be suitable or not. But it will work with just a standard black and white or a mono laser printer, a full color CMYK printer, or even a multifunction printer that's got a scanner or a fax on top. But what's really important, it has a straight through path, and that's where you can put the media into the front of the printer. It's printed and it comes out at the back. What it doesn't work with is these industrial photocopier type laser printers. And the reason being is that they are designed to be extremely economical and put minimal amounts of toner down on the paper. And that's not good for this process. And also they have multiple feeds where it winds around, and that's not good for the media. It builds up static and prevents the printing process working correctly. And you also need a heat press, but what type of heat press? A swing away heat press is recommended, and the reason being is that you need to have access to the full bed of the heat press. So once it's swung open, we'll leave the media in there whilst we're working with it to make sure it stays nice and hot. And a swing away heat press gives us that access. If you have a look at the picture on the right hand side, that's a clamshell heat press. They don't really work very well because they don't give you full access to the bed. They can impede your access. You can start to burn your knuckles, your arms, your forehead. And also what we found through experience is that a good quality heat press is critical to this process. So some of the lower price heat presses that you can see out there, particularly ones you may find on eBay, they're quite inconsistent in the heat they provide, and also how solid they are. And that can cause problems. So a solid heat press, swing away heat press is perfect for this process. Now I talked about it being a single color process, and there are in fact 21 colors that you can work with. So across the top of the screen there are the 9 regular colors. We have 8 metallic colors. They are actually quite reflective. And then we have the 4 neon colors across the bottom there. You can see they are very neon, and they actually glow under black light. So for particular types of applications where there's going to be UV lights, they'd be really cool. I don't know if discos still exist. When I was younger, they did back in England, but I'm not sure these days, but that kind of thing. Now, how does this process work? So this is a question we get asked all the time. How does it work? So this is exactly what I'm about to tell you. So first of all, you're going to need to create your artwork in your graphics program, and you create it in solid black. So regardless of the color of the paper you're printing onto, whether it's the metallics, the neons, or the regular colors, you always create your artwork in black. And that's because we can control how much tone is going to go down onto the paper. We print it through our laser printer, and then we print it onto the paper. So the colored part of the paper, this is called the A paper, and it starts one of the 21 colors. And it's quite distinct. One side's really glossy and one side's a matte side. We print onto the matte side, and we always print in reverse or in mirror, as you can see on the presentation. Now, once we have printed the design onto the A paper, we then take the second piece of paper, which is called the B paper, which you can see in the middle of the screen there. It's got a logo on one side, which actually says B paper, so there's no mistaking. And then we need to marry them together inside the heat press. So we place them into the heat press, and we press them. And then once we separate them, you can see there on the left-hand side that the glue transfers to the toner, and it will only bond to the toner. So then that then becomes our transfer, which we can go ahead and heat press onto our product. So I've actually prepared a video. I'm not going to do a live demonstration on this, but I prepared a video. I'm going to talk you all through the actual process and the application. Okay, so we want to open the heat press, and we need to make sure that the base of the heat press is really hot. Not just the top surface of the rubber, but the metal plate that goes underneath. That has to retain heat, so it keeps the media nice and hot when we're separating it. Then we want to put some copy paper, or we're using the finishing sheets here, on the base of the heat press. Then we want to take our printed A film or A paper, and then we need to just trim this down so it's slightly smaller than the B paper. And this just makes sure that the process works perfectly. It doesn't have to be neat. You can cut it down in any old way you want, and you only need to cut 2 sides, and then it's going to be smaller than the B paper all the way around. And we want to place that in the heat press so that the printed side is face up. And then we take the B paper, place it face down on top of the A paper, ensuring the A paper is completely covered. And we can use copy paper or another piece of finishing sheets and cover the design. And then we want to heat press it. Now for the smaller piece of paper, A4 paper, then we can use 90 seconds. For the larger sheets, we use 2 minutes. And it's at around about 135, 140 degrees Celsius, depending on heat press and what type of printer you've got. Now it's really critical that we leave it on the base of the heat press so it stays really hot. If we lift it up off the base of the heat press, it will start to cool down. We need to make sure it's really hot so that the glue stays soft so it separates really easy. And then we just roll it back on itself like this. We don't want to do it too slowly. We don't want to do it too fast. But nice and steady all the way across. When you get towards the end like this now, because there's less stuck together, there's less resistance. So you just slow down a little bit so it still peels off nice and easy without pulling away too fast. And then you can see there that all of the B paper, which is the glue, is transferred to the toner. And that's our transfer. We can place it down onto the product, t-shirt in this case. And just be careful because around the edge of the B paper, it can pick up some of the glue. And you can just visually check that before you press it. It doesn't always happen, but if it does, just trim that down. It doesn't have to be neat or anything, just trim that off. And then you want to make sure that the shirt or the product is clean of any fibers or debris. because that can get in between the glue and the shirt, which could cause longevity issues. And then place the printed transfer with the print side and the glue face down onto the shirt. You can use heat tape to hold it in position if positioning is critical, but in this instance, I'm not going to use the heat tape. And then cover it with the matte finishing sheet, and then we're going to press it again onto a shirt, cotton shirt here. We can use 135 Celsius for 30 seconds. If it's going to be a product that never gets washed, you can go down to 100 Celsius. And if it's a polyester shirt, you can drop that down a little bit to 130 to prevent dye migration. Now, this part is really critical that we remove it from the shirt when it's extremely cold. So make sure we remove it from the heat press, keeping the transfer nice and flat, because when it's hot, the glue is soft. When it's completely cold, it's hard and it's stuck to the shirt. So look at the transfer, find the corner that's got the most free space so you can start the curve nice and easily. We want to keep this edge, this cut roll here, really low, and as we remove it, we're effectively breaking the foil away from the plastic carrier. And as we roll it across, you want to move your hand so it stays close to that curve, keeping it low, nice and neat, and do it in one continuous motion. I was talking when I was doing this, so I did stop a couple of times. You want to do that in one nice, clean movement. Now with the metallic colors, you may see some excess flakes around the text. It might not be just perfect, crisp and sharp. Just use a lint roller or a piece of tape, roll it over it, and it brings those excess fibers, flakes off. There's no glue behind it, so it's not stuck to anything. And then there's one final step, and that's to press it into the shirt. This final step, you've got two options. You can use the matte finishing sheet or the glossy finishing sheet. The matte finishing sheet has a texture to the surface, which gives it a matte finish. And the glossy finishing sheet's got a perfectly smooth surface, which makes it nice and glossy. Now in this case, it is a metallic color, so we want that to be glossy anyway. So we've used the gloss finishing sheet. And then during this press, it embeds the media into the weave of the fabric, which gives it the longevity. So it has a washability of around about 40 washes. And a more intricate the design, like this particular one, is how longer it's going to last. And once it's the finishing sheet has been removed, the product is finished. Just let it cool, and then it's ready to go. Obviously you can't feel there, but you can see how glossy and shiny that is, and it's perfect. So that's the process in a nutshell. Now, one thing you may be asking, one question, it's a really important question, is how much does it cost to produce a design? So we've actually done a cost analysis between FlexSoft and heat transfer vinyl, and we know that heat transfer vinyl is slightly lower in price than the FlexSoft media. It's around about 30% lower, but what you have to take in consideration is the time factor. So take a look at this design we've got on screen, and how long will it take you to weave that particular design. So with this process, there's no weaving, it's a self-weaving process. So once you've factored that in, the FlexSoft is actually a really economical way of printing. And we can see here the little chart I've created. So A4, the A3, the media price, that's for both the A and the B sheets. And this is based on buying packs of 100. And the printing cost is the cost of the media and the consumables inside the printer. And then the labor time, this is just a figure that I created, $18 per hour. It's going to take about 4 minutes per shirt. Now, you might think there, oh, A3, that's quite expensive for one print. But most people aren't printing full A3 designs. It might be a smaller logo pocket print or something along those lines. So when you actually lay up multiple designs on one page, if we're doing a logo, for this example I created here, 100 mil by 100 mil, that's going to be significantly lower. So you could probably get 12 of those onto an A3 page, which reduces those costs quite dramatically. And for including your labor and your printing costs, around about $1.70 for a small logo print. And if you're trying to do something that's really complex for heat transfer vinyl, you're not going to be competitive. Now, what type of artwork is suitable for FlexSoft? So first of all, it's going to need to be single color artwork. So like these designs here, they're all single color. What isn't suitable are designs with larger areas of solid color. So the more intricate, complex, and areas of negative space. So negative space is areas where the image is blank. So let's take a look at the deer on the left of the screen. You can see all those black areas. That's negative space. So where there's negative space, that's going to give it a softer feel, and it's going to actually make the product last longer. So forever give the media a washability of around about 40 washes. Now, if it's going to be a solid square print, for example, that's going to break down a lot quicker when it's being washed. The water will pass through the media and break it down quite quickly. But when it's got negative space or open parts of the design, the water will pass through the fabric and not through the media, making it last longer. But it will also reduce the printing costs because you're not printing as much toner down, and it makes it feel a lot softer because there's less media there. And if you have a look at the white t-shirt, that's got a distressed look to it. So if you couldn't achieve a result like that with heat transfer vinyl. So you can achieve things that you can't with other printing processes. Now, if you do have designs that have large solid areas, then you could apply what we call like a vintage or a retro look by this distressed feature to it. And this is, again, as mentioned before, it's going to provide a softer feel because there's less media there, a better washability, less toner used is a lower printing cost. So we do have instructions on how to achieve this in Photoshop, Illustrator, and CorelDRAW. You can download those from our website. With a few clicks of a button, you can install that and run that really quite quickly. It's a really good feature to include in designs. Now, up until now, I've been calling this a single color process. We can, in fact, layer colors not on top of each other, but next to each other to produce multicolor designs. But if you take a look on the left-hand side, the white shirt, that is actually two colors layered together to produce that two-color image. So what you would need to do is take your artwork, separate that into two files in your graphics app, print that and complete the process once for the first color, and then again for the second color. You can actually put up to 5 colors on one product, and that's the amount of time that the glue or the adhesive can take before it starts to break down. So this one of the Wonder Woman, that's to the extreme. I know it's going to cost quite a substantial amount to produce an A3 print in 5 different colors, but this is just to show off the process of what could be achieved. Now, throughout this presentation so far, we've been demonstrating t-shirts, but this FlexSoft product will actually work on any porous surface. That includes any type of fabric, cotton, polyester, mixed, nylon, leather, and then any other type of surface which is non-porous, so like paper, wood, felt. As long as it doesn't melt when it goes into the heat press, the process is going to work. So a non-porous surface, something like metal or ceramic or glass, that's a different product which we'll talk about in next week's webinar. So if you haven't signed up for that, you can do that through our website, and we'll discuss that next week. Now, one exception to the rule that we've come across is neoprene. Because neoprene is an insulator, it's very difficult to get the surface of that neoprene to be exactly 100 or 130 Celsius for exactly 30 seconds for the process to work. So I'd like to just point that out. It probably isn't going to work to print onto stubby coolers. But every other product, it will work, providing it doesn't melt in the heat press. Now, how can you buy this product, FlexSoft? It's available through our website. We sell it in packs, 5, 10, 20, 25, 100. And it comes in bundles of A and the B paper. And we also have sample packs. So if you just want to try a few sheets to get going, we have a black and white sample pack and a color sample pack. Perfect pack that's been put together by Forever, just so you can trial it and see how it works for you. So I'd like to just take a couple of minutes break to answer any questions on the Flex Soft product that we just spoke about here. So if you have any questions, now is the perfect time for you to ask those. And you can ask the questions just by clicking on the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. Okay, so if there's no questions coming through at this stage, that means I've done an extremely good job of explaining that to you. So I do have one question come through. The finishing sheets, they are sold separately, but if you buy the sample packs, it comes included with the amount of finishing sheets that you need to use that sample pack. And the finishing sheets are reusable. The glossy finishing sheet can be probably used around about 10 to 15 times before it starts to break down, whereas the matte finishing sheet, you can get at least 30 presses, and if not 50 presses out of each sheet. And they're a really low price of around about 16 cents a sheet. So if you break that down, you're paying a fraction of a cent per press. So they are really good, good pricing. So if you have any more questions, just feel free to pop them through. I've got another one coming through here. Yeah, so good question just come through here about the multi-layered pressing. I do have a video, which a bonus video I'm gonna throw in at the end for you all, just to show you how to do that multi-layered pressing. So you do the first color. So the metallic colors have actually got metal in them to make them metallic. So you would put them, if you have metallic in the design, you would put that one down first. You do the A-B process, press it onto the shirt, remove it from the shirt, do the final press with the finishing sheet, and then you do your second color. And once you've got the papers married together, the A and the B, you can actually see quite clearly where the design is, and you place it over the top. You can then see exactly where you're placing it and get your registration perfect. And I will make that more clear with the bonus video I've got for you at the end. Alrighty. So everything we've been speaking about so far is single color questions. Everything we're going to talk about now is for full color artwork. So things like photographs, full color logos, anything like that. Now don't be confused by the name Laser Dark. It does work onto any color garments or products, even light colored garments. I have got confused myself by this name, Dark. It's just the name of the product. Doesn't mean it only works with dark garments. Now, this is an example of what type of results you can print and achieve with Laser Dark. So you can do full prints, A3 large prints with this product, or you can do small multicolor logos like we have done there on the right-hand side. So you could do anything you see on the screen, basically, you can reproduce with this process. Now, what equipment is required for this process? So a heat press, which we've already discussed, a swing away heat press is what you need to get perfect. And also a Oki Pro Series white toner printer. So I do have a quick question I'm going to ask everybody through a poll here. So does anybody out here listening today already have a white toner printer, or would like to get into using the white toner printers to produce these type of full color artwork? Okay, great. We've got a good mix there. So we've got a few people who do have the printers. So this is going to help you understand exactly what you can achieve from your printers. People who don't have this printer already, you're going to learn exactly the same, what you're going to do. And people who would like one, this is going to make you want it even more. So what's unique about the Oki white toner printers is that it takes obviously the white toner. And this is a critical part of the process to make sure you're going to produce perfect results every time. Now, the A4 and the A3 model is a cyan, magenta, yellow, and white. It doesn't take a black toner. So when it prints black, it uses composite of cyan, magenta, and yellow. You don't need to worry about how that works because the software will do all of that for you. And then the larger printer, the larger A3 printer, has 5 toners. It has the full CMYK and the white. I'll explain more about a different printer model a little bit later on. Now, the process of LaserDark is very similar to FlexSoft. What you're going to see here on screen is that the media starts off completely transparent, and then we use the Oki white toner laser printer to print all of the colors onto the transfer, which we then use to reproduce the artwork. So a step-by-step process before we jump into the video. So we take our artwork, we put that through the RIP program, print it out of our Oki white toner printer onto our transparent LaserDark A paper. And then on the right of the screen, you're going to see there, it's actually automatically printed white behind the color. So we're going to get a perfect A to B press, which will then result in a perfect result in the end. So once we have printed our A paper, it's almost exactly the same process of FlexSoft. We then take our B paper and we need to marry them together inside the heat press. The main difference here being that the temperature is slightly hotter at 155 Celsius for this marrying process. And then we heat press it onto our product, garments, or whatever it may be. So I do have a video that I have pre-prepared here for you all. So you want to again use our swing away heat press. Make sure the base of the heat press is really hot, not just the top of the rubber, but the metal part underneath. That's going to make sure that glue stays nice and hot for when we're separating the A and the B paper. You don't have to, but I like to use a piece of copy paper or a finishing sheet on the base of the heat press so I don't get any glue on the heat press. But what you're going to find is that the A paper is slightly bigger than the B paper. So if you do choose not to use a sheet on the bottom, you can see there around the edge that the paper is slightly smaller than the A. So if you don't use a sheet of copy paper on the base of the heat press, it shouldn't mark the heat press, but just to look after your heat press, it's good to use paper on top and bottom. And then we want to heat press this, again, 90 seconds for A4, 2 minutes for A3, slightly hotter here at 155 Celsius. And again, it's critical that we separate the papers when it's extremely hot. So open the heat press straight away, remove the top sheet, and start to separate. Now, I like to pinch the paper. Don't put my thumb down on top, so you're going to start burning your thumb. Pick up the papers and pinch it between your index finger and your thumb, and then you can start to separate nice and steadily like this. You want to take it off nice and roll it back on itself, nice and steady. If you go too fast, then you're going to rip it away. We want to roll it away so the glue breaks away from the B paper and remains on the toner. And you can see on the B paper that all the glue has been removed and it is on the back of the toner, and you can see there it's solid white. You can then place it down onto the shirt, but make sure you trim any glue from around the edges. And actually, once you've got the glue on the sheets, you can store these for up to 12 months. And that's the same for the FlexSoft process as well. So if you're just doing small logos for the same company over and over, you can fill up the whole sheet, press the A and the B, and save them for future use. They can store for 12 months, as long as it's not in a hot or humid environment. And again, just take a lint roller, remove any excess fiber so it doesn't get in between the glue and the fabric. And then put it glue side down, and because it's transparent, you can see exactly where you're placing it. So placement is critical. This makes it really, really easy. And we want to cover it with the matte finishing sheet. And sometimes you'll notice that the corners of the finishing sheet curl up. Just flip it over, so when you swing the heat press back, it doesn't push it off. And then heat press it onto the shirt. 155 Celsius for cotton. You can do down to 130 for polyester to prevent the dye migration. And then if the product's never going to be washed, like a leather wallet or something like that, for example, 100 Celsius. We have a whole chart for different times and temperatures for different types of products. Now, removing it from the shirt again is a critical process that it is completely cold. Because when it's cold, the glue is set and it sticks to the shirt. And again, we want to roll this back on itself, and it's really important when we roll it, because we pull it off like a band-aid, it's not going to stick to the shirt. So as we roll it on a nice low curve like this, the design breaks away from the plastic carrier that we're removing. If we pull it off, it's not going to stick to the shirt, or it'll partially stick to the shirt. But when we roll it away like that, it sticks, it removes from the carrier perfectly. And again, there's one final press in the heat press. And this, again, you've got the two options for a gloss or a matte finish. I personally prefer the matte finish opposed to the gloss finish, unless I'm using a metallic color. Doesn't matter which side of the finishing sheet you use, they are the same on both sides. Place it onto the transfer and then heat press it for 30 seconds, same temperature as what you did the first press, depending on what product it is. And what that does, it pushes the media into the fabric, and you will see the weave of the fabric coming through the design if you look really closely. And that gives it the longevity, again, around about 40 washes, but the more complex and intricate the design, the longer it's going to last. Once it's cooled, it's then ready to give to your customers. So again, I've done a breakdown of the costs, which again is a really important question to help people make the informed decision and choice. So I've broke it down for A4, A3, and a logo based on this exact image here that we use in the video. So A4 and A3, the cost of the media again is both the A and the B paper based on packs of 100. You buy it as A and the B paper in a bundle. The printing cost, that is the cost of the toner and the other consumables in the printer, like the drum, the fuser, the transfer belt, and all the other consumables which have a life. Some of them have a lifespan of 20,000, 50,000 pages, so the cost per print is a fraction of a cent, but the transfer rip software can calculate all of that for you. You can export it to a spreadsheet, CSV file, and import it into your accounting packages, all those types of things. Now, again, you might think, oh, that's quite expensive to print an A3 size print. But again, most people aren't printing full A3 size prints. It's going to be smaller logo prints. And then this exact example here is 100 mil or 10 centimeters by 12 centimeters. And we can actually get 9 of those onto an A3 sheet. And that significantly reduces the cost per print to 62 cents for the media, 9 cents for the consumables inside the printer, $1.20 accounts for 4 minutes of labor time. So your total cost there is $1.91. Now, if you think about heat transfer vinyl, where you've got to weed all those intricate designs and patterns, it's just going to take, it could take you an hour. You're paying somebody or yourself, your labor, your time, anything upwards of $18, $20 per hour. So this is really an economical way of producing those really intricate designs. Now, the software that's required to print with the Oki white toner printers in conjunction with the laser dart transfer media is called Transfer Rip, and it is made by Forever specifically for use with their printers with Oki, for their paper with the Oki printers. Now, what this Transfer Rip is going to do makes the process extremely easy. It's basically a user-friendly interface which makes the printing process step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, click through it, and it automatically does everything for you. So what I'm about to explain, it's quite technical, but this is the way it works. If it is quite technical, but don't worry, because it is all taken care of for you automatically in this step. So I'm going to explain why the white toner is required for this printing process. So for the process to work correctly, the density of the toner needs to be at least 150%. And the way that that is calculated is when you combine the percentage of the CMY in the artwork together. So if the percentage of CMY is less than 150%, then the software will automatically add white behind that color, so the process is going to work correctly. Take a look at the picture of this cat on screen. On the left-hand side, that's what it looks like. The picture in the middle of the screen, that's exactly where it's going to print white. Not throughout the whole design, but only behind the lighter colors, so the process is going to work correctly. And this is going to save a lot of costs in the printing process. And in the picture on the right there, you can see there's varying degrees of white printed behind the different lightnesses of color. Another extremely good feature in the transfer rip is the rasterization process. So as I mentioned earlier in the FlexSoft, it's all about negative space. If you just got a large square print on your shirt, it's going to feel quite stiff, it's not going to be very flexible, and it's going to break down quicker in the washing machine. So when it's been rasterized, have a look at this, the face we got here, the Breaking Bad Hector. Yeah, I think that's his name. When we zoom in, you can see there it's produced a rasterization effect. Think of it like as a halftone. Think of screen printing. It produces that kind of dot into the image. But if you view the t-shirt from there, it just looks normal. But get up close, you can see the halftone effect that is automatically produced. This is going to reduce your printing costs because there's less toner going down. It improves the washability because the water passes through the fabric and not through the media. And it improves the feel and the flexibility of the design. And there's different types of rasterization. The one we just spoke about was producing a circle, but my particular favorite is rasterization in a line. So when we're viewing this picture from a normal viewing distance, when I'm wearing the shirt and you're talking to me, it just looks normal. When you get up really close to it, like we've zoomed in here, you can see these lines running through the artwork. And you can have these lines in any direction. You can decide that in the program. And we put these lines in the same direction as the weave of the fabric. And if you have a look at the little GIF we've got on the right-hand side of the screen, it makes it extremely flexible. So if that was just a solid print and you were to stretch the cotton to its extreme, it may crack the image. But once it's been rasterized, especially lines in the same direction as the weave, it makes it extremely stretchable, which is something you don't get with other transfer products, such as heat transfer line. And image optimization. So this particular image here, Captain America, the left-hand side is what it's going to look like on screen. In the software, we've chose to optimize it for a black shirt. And what that's going to do, it is going to use the black of the shirt to help reproduce the shadows of the darker areas of the image. So have a look at the picture just to the left in the middle. That's what it prints out like. When you first look at that, you think, what's happened here? It's not printed correctly. But once you've got the glue on it, pressed it to the shirt, you have a look on the right-hand side, which is the shirt we've got here, the close-in picture I've taken. You can see there that it's rasterized, removed more of the darker areas, the shadows, and allowing the black of the shirt to come through to help produce those darker areas. And that, again, improves the feel, the washability, and reduces the printing costs. And then there's also, on the flip side of that, you can optimize it for a white shirt where it does the exact opposite. It's going to remove the highlights, the whiter or lighter areas of the image. Now, We do have a series of videos which explains the transfer rip programming in extreme detail. The whole series of videos lasts for 2.5 hours, but broken down in small sections, so you manageable bite sizes, so you can sit there and watch them a few bits at a time, or just refer back to a particular section. So I'm not going to go into too much detail of the rasterization process in this 101 webinar, but if you do go down the line, purchase a printer, or want to learn more, then most videos are available through our website. Now, I mentioned earlier, I've got a little bonus video of the layering of multiple colors onto one shirt. So let me bring this video up for everybody. Here we go. So I've done the first process. I've put the Flex Soft metallic white, yellow, gold onto the shirt. That process has been completely finished with the finishing sheet. I put a gloss finish on there because I like the metallic to be glossy. And then if you wanted to put the second color on there, this would be, you can see there, you can see through, you have to trust me, but when you place it down on top of the design, you can see exactly where you're placing it. You do need to take your time to make sure you get it nice and straight. But if you are using, or if you have a white toner printer, you then have the flexibility of using the metallic colors from the Flex Soft in conjunction with the Laser Dark to highlight certain full tone colors, or you can use the metallics as a highlight in a particular image to produce some really, really cool effects. And this is one of my favorite images. So you can see there, positioning it, it's really easy because the Laser Dark is completely transparent, whereas the Flex Soft, take a little bit more time just to make sure you get it perfect. Now, you probably want to tape that down with heat-resistant tape for this little demonstration. It wasn't too critical if it moved slightly. Press it just like normal, 30 seconds. Remove the finishing sheet. Let it cool down completely, and again, remove it from the heat press, keeping it nice and flat so that it doesn't fold, so it could come away from the shirt when it's still hot. Once it's completely cooled, do exactly the same thing as we've shown you before. You want to roll it away from the shirt, like I mentioned before, rolling it away, make sure the design separates from the carrier perfectly. Look how cool that looks, metallic with that white pop over the top. So if you had, say, 3 colors on there, you do the whole first color, remove it from the shirt, finish the press, then do the next color, then move on to the next color, and then you can layer it. You don't want to make your design so they go on top of each other. You would separate your artwork so that the colors would line up next to each other, just like that. So a little bit more about the Oki Pro Series white toner printers. There's 3 of them in the range, which are designed specifically for the transfer decoration. So the Oki Pro 7411 is an A4 printer. The Oki Pro 8432 is an A3 printer. These are both 4 color, so cyan, magenta, yellow, and white. And the 8432 actually is the world's smallest A3 printer based on footprint. The pictures here, you can't quite tell, but the A432 is the same size as the A7411. So if you've got a small workspace, then it's not a huge printer. It can just fit on any kind of small workspace. And then we've got the printer on the right, the 9541. That is the largest printer in the range. It's still an A3, but it's SRA3. And that has 5 colors: cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and white. You can also exchange the white for a gloss. So if you're doing regular printing like brochures and something like that, and you wanted to put a gloss down as a spot color, then you can use this printer to do that. Now, the most popular printer that we sell is the 8432. And we have actually over 50 of these printers out there in the market. So it is a really popular printer. Now, these prices we got down there at the bottom of the screen is our MSRP prices, but we do have some special pricing that we have put together for all the attendees of this webinar. So if you are interested in taking up one of these printers or purchasing one, then we recommend get in touch with us afterwards. Let me know. I can put you in touch with the sales team and they'll give you the special quoting prices that we have available. Now, these printers are perfect for the transfer process, but they are also equally as good for regular printing and for printing on additional materials. So because it has a white toner, we can print white on a whole range of different stock media. So the 8432 can print onto stock up to 256 GSM, and the bigger 9541 can print over 300 GSM. That's really quite thick card. So you can do things like menus, brochures, invitations. These tags can be printed and cut down, or even speciality labels to go onto packaging. You can buy, as long as they are laser specific media, it will work with these printers. And because of the white, you can do all these types of really incredible designs. And not only can we print onto just regular stock, these printers can print onto banner media up to 1.5 meters in length. Now you are limited to the width of the printer. So if it's A4, you can print 210 mil wide. If it's A3, you can print 297 mil wide. But you can print up to 1.5 meters in length to produce these types of banners. The banner media would just need to be laser compatible. And it's also great for short run promotional packaging. So because it can print onto that thick stock, 256 GSM for the 8432, over 300 GSM for the 9541, you can print this, do the short run packaging. So if you want to just trial a new idea for some products you make, get the right type of media, you can produce that yourself instead of sending it before you send it off for mass production. So that brings us to the question section. Anything you may want to ask me now is the perfect time. Anything to do with the full color, laser dark transfers, or for the Oki white toner Pro Series printers. So let me have your questions. And don't forget, we're always here to answer questions at any time. You can contact us through any of our communication channels you may have seen recently. We've now updated our website. You can contact us via SMS, live chat, our knowledge base, email, numerous ways. So anytime you want to ask us any questions about any of these products or anything, just don't hesitate to get into contact with us. So I've got a question here. Can the laser dark paper be used to print onto light shirts without a white printer? Technically it can, but it's extremely limiting because for the process to work, the density of the toner needs to be 150%. So that rules out any photographic images, and you can only produce really dark colors. So in theory, it is correct, you can, but we definitely don't recommend it because you're only limited to dark colors only. The artwork will need to be vector, so you can manipulate the colors and make it work. If there's lots of colors in your artwork, it's going to take a really long time. So we need to use the white toner printer in conjunction with a transfer rip, and you're going to get perfect results every single time. You're welcome. So if there's no more questions coming through, that's bringing us to the end of today's webinar. If you haven't done so already, sign up for next week's webinar where I talk to you about some more laser transfer medias from Forever. I hope this has been an informative session for you all, and please feel free to ask us any questions outside of this. Now, before we do wrap up today, I would like to just tell you all that we do have a special gift that we will be preparing and sending out to everybody. Now, we understand that it's really good to feel and see products. Doing a virtual webinar is not always possible. So I have prepared a shirt containing all of the prints we've done today. So the Flex Soft, the owl, the laser dark, the Gold Coast design, and then the mix transfer, the Flex Soft and the laser dark onto a shirt. And we're going to send that out to you with a sample of media, some printed, so you can try it in your heat press, some blank media, so you can try it in your printer if you already have one. And to make sure we can send it out to you, if you haven't already, jump onto your online profile through our website and make sure your address is up to date. Because if we don't have your address, we can't send it out to you. So make sure that is up to date. We will be preparing those packages tomorrow. So make sure you do so before then. And just a final thank you for attending today. It's been my pleasure to explain this to you. Now you all go about and have a lovely day.